HFR, test audio. Hey Todd, welcome. Good to see you in here, mate. How's everything going with you? Trying to do my first live stream since reaching 1K subs, sub count in April, mostly due to the thanks from Vince over at, my mate Vince. He really put me out there, and that got me over 1K. I'm glad you're doing well. Sencore was a. Yes. Oh yeah, I found this one off of eBay. It's a TC109. I got it at auction actually, and it's in relatively decent shape. I mean, you've probably seen it in a couple of my videos, restoring a few of the vintage radios that I've gotten on the channel. But I have used it a time or two. I can feel a hum in it. It's got somewhat of a high frequency pitch to it. So I think a couple of the old electrolytic or even paper film caps are bad. They need to get replaced anyways. He is. He's a very great guy. 100% agree with that. I thought you're a business owner, right? With all those amps and everything that you repair. Probably need to remember that this booklet is attached to the bottom end. It's not. I've actually been inside of this tube tester. There's not a whole lot to it. It needs a new cord, although the cord is not in incredibly bad shape. The rubber is still somewhat pliable on it. However, I did notice that it's got some electrical tape around it. We'll probably need to address it. Oh, that's awesome. I've been trying to get into that business repair myself, and I've gotten a couple clients, but not a whole lot. I assume it's kind of like you've got to find your crowd, and your niche inside of whatever you do in order to aggregate customers, etc., and really just getting your name and what you do out there. My biggest customer is actually a gentleman who lives across the street from me. I've got, believe it or not, a car amp sitting over in the corner back that way. He doesn't know if it works anymore or not. It's fairly corroded from where he's had it sitting in a garage or in a box or something. But I told him I'd give it a once over and test it out, and if it needs repair, I'd do a bit of repair and then get back with him on it. Oh, two more screws, four more screws. And if anybody else joins in, I'm going to go ahead and say it. Uh, Please watch eBerg's channel, okay? eBerg Amplifier Repair. Uh, Everything that Todd puts up there is gold, let me tell you. Um, in preparation for working on the amp I have over in the corner, I've actually gone back and watched several of his videos just so I can annotate primarily key problems he runs across and everything in case if I see similar issues. It should just be those screws, and I should be able to lift this faceplate out, or the entire thing actually. See how it goes. I'm wondering if I should have left in the top and bottom ones. Well, let me ask you this, Todd. How did you start out in your business? How did you get into repairing amps and etc.? Were you in a electronics field prior to owning your own business? Was it a hobby? No, maybe it was just call. There we go. He's starting to come now. I didn't think I was ever getting that out of there. The actual case is not in too bad a condition. Maybe y'all can see a tad bit of rust back here. That's easily remedied. A little bit of cleaning, a little bit of a rust inhibitor will get rid of that. But the case not in too bad a condition. Not overly concerned with it. For anybody who comes and watches this video later, obviously I didn't advertise when this live stream was going to start. I promise if I do another one, I will get better. I am using OBS Studio to do it, so it's or OBS Studio, however you want to pronounce it. I've never live streamed from it before, so some of the things are obviously new to me. But for those just who join in and watch later, or whoever's joined in now, welcome to my channel. It's Sean from HFR. I'm doing this 1K live stream as a celebration because you all made it happen. You got me up to 1,000 subs, and I feel like this is a nice way of giving back to the community. And so that's really the primary reason why I'm doing it. However, if y'all have questions, any questions as far as I'm concerned, you want to ask and keep the stream lively, then by all means ask them. And then tertiary to asking questions and just general talking and stuff like that. I'm going to be working on this Sencore TC109 tube checker. You've seen me probably in past videos pull it out and use it to test tubes for radios, etc. It needs some minor repairs done to it. I'm not looking at fully restoring this tube checker by any means. This is for my own personal use. I can deal with certain aspects not being as safe as what they should be, as far as no inline fuse for this. I think it also has, and it's not using the diode rectifier, not silicon. I'm forgetting the name for the term for the old style rectifiers. But anyways, yeah, there's certain things I'm not overly concerned with. So as far as safety, it's my personal use. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Going from tube style vintage radio, whatever vintage equipment that requires tubes to solid state. Everything's solid state now. And then, you know, I can tell you over the course of 20 years with everything that I've worked on over the years, um, the general UHF and VHF radios, um, and then RF emitters that I've worked on over 20 years, they've even progressed beyond local LOs and stuff like that. I mean, they still use local oscillators and RF generation and et cetera, but it's become more IP based as well. So instead of having to go in and manually align and turn potentiometers and stuff, you go into software and then you change values, minor changes in values, and that produces the same result. But yeah, lots changed, in the past 20 years since I've started working on electronics. And then I just, lots changed even before that, going through the history of electronics. Again, this is for testing vacuum tubes, and obviously that's before my time. I'm not of age where I remember these things actually being used back in the day. I'm nearly 40, I'll put it that way, old guy. So I wouldn't call myself, a vintage guy, but I love vintage equipment, and that's kind of what's drawn me to it, because I've been in all this, solid state semiconductors and stuff my entire career. Being able to look back at vintage radio equipment, anything along that lines is very intriguing to me, because it's not stuff that I had or until now had any knowledge on. So I'm actually, a lot of the stuff I'm developing knowledge as I go along. Anyways, let's see, can we get this back case off as well? Yeah, so I did see a TV7, I think, at one point on eBay, but you probably know this better than me. Um, Finding a good tube tester can get rather pricey. And it's my understanding that this TC109 is mostly just like a kit tester. Something that somebody was given schematics for and parts, and they had to cobble together themselves. All right, so you have to be careful lifting the faceplate out, because just the tube sockets and stuff, they kind of catch underneath the lip of this, the backside to the shell. So just some small words of advice. Yeah, I can. There we go. Get that out of the way. There's a guy I watch frequently, Paul. His channel is Mr. Carlson's Lab, and I've gained a lot of component level knowledge, especially of vintage, radios and amplifiers and stuff, watching his videos. And then he builds a lot of his own test equipment as well. Definitely a channel worth following. Along with Eberg's channel, Mime Vince is a great channel. Stead Sticks Fix is a great channel. And then, in a general sense, for people who are currently on this live stream, or anybody who joins later or watches this video later, I don't ever hide who I subscribe to on my channel. You can go to the channel section or whatever. You can see who all I'm sub to, and that's predominantly because I want y'all to know what I'm paying attention to. Because if I'm paying attention to it, there's probably something I've learned from it. I don't just generally go through and sub to somebody's channel for no reason whatsoever. I'm pretty selective with who I sub to. But yeah, so if anybody's interested in other channels that are similar to mine, a lot of them even better than mine, if I'm being honest, just go over and you can see that right there on my YouTube page. Yeah, he is very thorough. Paul is extremely thorough. We've got one tube in here, 6C4. Now, this is generally speaking, your vintage radio guys probably know what that tube is right off the bat, but my assumption is it's some form of rectification, or I'm not too sure, because here is our actual rectifier right there. Selenium. This is a selenium rectifier. And that, like I said, the name escaped me previously. Now, it's my understanding that when these go poof, they can be a bit hazardous to your health. So generally speaking, you would want to replace a selenium rectifier with a modern silicon diode rectifier. Now, I've got several silicon diodes over there that I could use to swap in and replace this. But I believe you also have to consider, how much current draw, the voltage that's coming out of the selenium rectifier as well, whatever that you would call it, a regulated, I guess, regulated DC voltage, because this is, I guess, more current. I don't know what I'm thinking of here. It's more taxing on your say your outlet. You plug it in, it creates an additional load that your modern diodes just don't, because they're better. But so yeah, you'll probably have a higher voltage than what you're looking for if you were to swap out to some selenium, not selenium diodes, but silicon diodes and stuff. So you got to adjust for those things. Again, I'm not doing that primarily on this video. I'm just going to swap out this electrolytic that we have here, which, again, this thing's been working for me, but I do want to get rid of some of these old capacitors. What is this one? 20 microfarad electrolytic. Now, what I could do is I could probably gut this and put the new electrolytic inside the old, paper casing, outer shell, if I can call it that, so it can still have a slightly vintage look to it. Then we have a 0.1 microfarad 200 volt DC rated paper film capacitor over here. That one's going to get replaced as well. Looking around everything, we have a lot of carbon resistors. They look to be in fairly good shape. They don't look to have a whole lot of age. Even these high voltage resistors, these block resistors you see here, they don't look like they've been through a lot of heating cycles or anything like that. So, and again, when I've been using this has kind of come across as maybe low hours, if I can put it that way. It's not had a whole lot of use. But let me grab some components and we can start doing a bit of work. And then again, anybody else joining at this time, think of some questions, ask me some questions. More than happy to talk about my experiences over the past 20 years working on electronics, some of the places I've traveled to during the course of my career. I'm YouTube. Hold on a second. I got 4 kids in there. 2 of them are playing over in the living room, and they just got, they're young kids, 2 and 4 years old. 2-year-old wanted to take a toy away from the 4-year-old, so needed to go manage that real quick. It's just a part of working from this living space at my house. But yeah, I've been fully employed for 20 years, working in a electronics tech job, pretty much. Been quite a few different places. Is that what it is? Extremely low voltage drop? I knew of something like that. I just couldn't remember. You would know. So you've definitely got you know, that innate electronics knowledge that I don't have with vintage equipment. All right, where's my components at? All right, we're going to be replacing this 0.1 microfarad 200 volt cap with this orange drop that I have right here. You hear me say this a lot. I like going by reputable suppliers like Mauser, DigiKey. You could also use like LCSC, I think. If you're over in Europe, I believe that's a popular site for ordering components. But a lot of times, even though I have components I order off of Amazon and stuff like that, I generally try to stick to more reputable suppliers. And this one, again, from Mauser, this is our axial aluminum electrolytic that we're going to replace on here. 20 microfarad, same voltage rating. Plus side is going to go this side. And I need to determine the, I'm going to put a dot on this orange drop. We're going to have to determine the outside foil on it. I think you could get by without doing that, but I do know that that increases noise. Let's see. I don't have everything readily available at my desk. I have to walk around and grab stuff. Not extremely efficient. Mike could get some test equipment up here running. Interesting. My SIGGEN doesn't want to connect to my PC. Oh, won't connect. I'm good with that. By plates, are you talking about the total count from the very top to the very bottom, or just the ones in between? Because total there are 6 plates. Yes, I'm actually heading to retirement, start terminal in September, and then I'll be fully retired 1 November and looking for a new job, which is primarily where the bulk of my time is being spent after work currently. I'm also a college student. I've got my last 3 courses that I'm taking as of right now for college. So I've got the full-time job, then I have college, and balancing that between being a husband and a father. But I can at least say that here in Oklahoma, there's pretty good industry. So it's just about ensuring that whatever resume I write is sufficient. Well tailored, and then if things line up, they line up, and if they don't, they don't. Yeah, I enjoyed living in the United Kingdom before coming back to the States. Um, I never got to meet like Vince in person. Around the time he and I started talking, um, either through YouTube or his Patreon. Um, that was when COVID really kicked off, and you couldn't travel out of your town. There was a lot of restrictions and stuff like that for traveling. So we were pretty much confined to the village of Lakenheath is where I was at. I worked over on RAF Lakenheath. The legs on this are a tad bit big. That might work. And it was a good place to live for 3 years. I enjoyed my time over in the UK. Don't have anything negative to say about being in that area of the world. But I'm also glad to be back in the States. I've also spent some time in Portugal, but not mainland Portugal. About maybe a little over 4 years total on Terceira Island, if I've pronounced it correctly. I probably haven't. Terceira, which is an island, a part of the Azores island chain in the middle of the Atlantic. And if anybody's looking for a place to have like a destination getaway vacation, that's the place that I would say, go. Looks like I might just be doing this off the board and directly on here. It's going to make it difficult for swapping the leaves around. And let's see, before that, let's see, lived in South Carolina, Mississippi, North Dakota, and a little while in Texas, and spent quite a few months in Africa. But I've traveled a lot more places than just living in those areas. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm setting up my SIGGEN for a 1 kHz frequency. I'm going to start it at an amplitude of 2 volts peak to peak. And then I'm just listening. And probably what I'm going to do is tape this down so that way it's not going to move when I swap those leads over. Now I've got filters on my microphone, so background noise is typically filtered out. You might not hear the tone coming through this inductive amplifier sitting over here to my right. And the way this test works, and then sometimes I have to change the amplitude or change the frequency, is I'm listening to whichever is quieter. Okay? So right now that is fairly quiet. And then when I swap them over, it is absolutely a lot louder. So then I have to mark this capacitor, and over on this side would be like the outside foil. Now I don't know if you have to do that for the orange drop ones, but it does work for them. If you get replacement polystyrene, I can't remember, poly something, the modern equivalent to your paper film caps, you would definitely do that on those. And when you're in the modern electronics world, everything has pretty much a label. Your electrolytics, unless they're non-polarized, they're going to have a band on one side, and that's the band that goes to ground. Unless if you're dealing with things like amplifiers, anything that generates a negative DC voltage within this different voltage rails. If you have a negative DC voltage rail, then the negative side of your cap actually goes to well, we'll put it this way: the negative side would go to the DC because it's lower polarity than 0 volts. It's the inverse polarity. All right. Well, I've got this cap set up. I've got my other cap ready, so time to just swap them out. And this is really all I'm going to do concerning the Sencore tube checker. At some point, I might come in and actually take a voltmeter across all these resistors and stuff, and see if there's anything else that needs to be replaced. I might replace it eventually, this AC plug, but for now, this is all I'm going to do. turn on my soldering iron. We'll get it set to about 6. What's a good temp? Started at 620. Which side is the positive side is going to be on this side. I'll mark that. I just don't remember. And so I don't forget, I'm going to put a little red dot down there. And put these loose. Yeah, 20 microfarad, 175 volts DC, so a 20 microfarad, 200 volt DC axial electrolytic is going to be perfectly fine. And this definitely could fit inside of here. I wonder if I could pry this out somehow. Much appreciated, Todd. Thanks for jumping in and watching for a little bit. And I'll be sure to pass along. And the same to you. I can't remember if we've ever talked about if you've ever mentioned to me that you have family as well. But you know, at least call your mom if she's still alive. And wish her a happy Mother's Day. There we go, it's starting to come out. And it's out. Cool beans. I could probably get some hot glue down in there and just, that'd probably be a good way to cap the end of this off. I had some corks, you know, like a cork you would put in a bottle. You could trim one down and put it on the end, but you know, I'm just primarily trying to keep this look a little bit vintage. And we don't need this to do that, but we will need this. All right, let's see if I got some hot glue somewhere in the office. I do. We're gonna let this warm up for a little bit. And while it's warming up, you get some soldering done. All right, about to get loud. Hopefully that extractor fan isn't too loud in everybody's ears. I see we just had somebody join in. Thank you for joining in. And thank you for subbing. Without you, I wouldn't have reached 1K subs. I'm currently working on a TC109 tube tester. We're just working through, I'm replacing a couple electrolytics in here. Actually, one electrolytic, one paper foil cap. And I took out the electrolytic, gutted it. This guy right here. Now I'm stuffing it with a modern equivalent and putting that back in. Feel free to hang out with me if you got questions. You know, this is kind of like a ask me anything or question and answer time. Feel free to drop those down in the comment section. Questions could be about anything. Because I cut the leads on the previous cap, I'm going to try to remove them off their terminal posts. So I'm not going to leave them alone, but this is going to be a you need to add solder to remove solder kind of thing. All right. Tend to have to do quite a bit of work with hemostats. A lot of this stuff that I've worked on in vintage equipment, you know, other than that first radio, I don't really record everything that goes into the repair of the entire process. At least on my end, you know, it's hours of work sometimes, but you're spending a lot of time just literally bent over whatever is on your bench and doing something like applying solder, removing solder. And that's just, that's too much repetition, so, and kind of boring. All right, there goes that one leg that I trimmed. This removed now. Get off of there. Another one's over here in this corner. Move this out of the way. And not much to this. It's kind of a bit on the boring side. But I figured if I was going to do a live stream, I might as well repair during it as well. All right, that one's been removed. And my glue gun is warmed up, so we can get this filled in. Oh, hot, 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 hot. All right, I'll add a little bit more glue to the inside of here. This way we make sure that it's completely filled up around. And as soon as it's kind of set up a bit, we can get that soldered in. I'm gonna turn off my glue gun so it's not just sitting over here heating. So one of the things that I've been working on, video to be released in the future, this will probably be a tad bit hard for you to see. You see that little black speck right there? That's a transistor. SOT23 NPN transistor. Came out of that Denon AV receiver in the back that I'm currently repairing. And the replacement just came in today, actually. And it's the hopefully the last thing I need to replace on that Denon receiver. Video to be released in the future. It's going to be across 2 parts. But yeah. I will say anybody who's trying to get into YouTube, as far as doing repairs and stuff, now I don't know what the bigger channels do, okay? I can see if this was your full-time job, if your channel and your audience was big enough to support that with revenue and everything. But I can tell you what I do on my side, since I have a job that I work, and this is more, outside of that job. A lot of content I do at least a month or 2 in advance, and then I schedule out the videos over a few months. And then what that affords me to do is, if I need to take if I'm taking a vacation with my family, or just need some time away instead of working on stuff, because you get burned out with it every once in a while. You really do. This started off to me as a hobby, and for the most part, it still is. Minus some of the things on the business side when I started my business this past year. But you can get really burned out on this, and a lot of times, I'll be honest with you, it's so much quicker to just go in and fix things and do a repair than it is to also try to record something and turn it into watchable content. And it's just to me, it's just I guess the nature of it. Don't get me wrong, I like recording channel content for YouTube, and I like being able to interact with people through YouTube, especially with the few comments I get from several viewers, because I end up learning a lot, and then I like to help when I can, when people have questions and stuff. So there's benefit there. All right, we're actually going to trim this lead a little bit, because I don't want to work with such a long lead. There we go. Okay. Now I need to get some more solder out of this terminal post over here, and I can feed that lead in through there, and then we'll solder everything up. All right. That's all cleaned out. There we go. And now we'll just get everything terminated with solder. One of the things you want to be concerned about when you're working on electronics and doing things like soldering, other than the honest hazard, I probably should be wearing some kind of safety glasses, because if you do flick solder off your soldering iron, and if it does hit you in the eye, you're going to have a very bad day. But when it comes to electronics, you need to be concerned about your dwell time. So what's dwell time? What do I mean by that? Well, and if you hear background noise, apologies. I got my extraction fan on right now. Dwell time is the amount of time that you are dwelling with your soldering iron on your components. And why is that important? Well, even though you need heat to get solder to change from a solid state to, its liquid state, that heat could also not be good for your components. So you're looking to spend as minimum amount of time as possible on any given spot while you're soldering. There you go, it's on there good. So that way you're not accidentally, burning up a component or shortening its lifespan because of excess heat. Okay, and this is going to be the last cap I removed. We're replacing with the orange drop. As you saw, I went through and I checked to see which side was quieter. I marked that because I want it to be the same side that this outside foil is marked on for this paper film capacitor. And we'll cut that out. Cut this side over here. It's removed. Now I think I'm actually going to change the tip on my soldering iron. All right, I'm back. My 8-year-old that came in and asked me a question, needs some help with something. Okay, so I just got these last two legs to remove, and say I'm going to change the tip on my soldering iron. It's off right now. It's still hot, so I don't recommend anybody who's in here, if you're watching me, doing what I'm doing with something that was just at over 600 degrees. I didn't mean for it to fall, but oh well. All right, we'll get this warmed back up. Now, I was using a J-hook or pick style tip on this because I was working on small SMD components over on that Denon. And great for that, but I need basically a 45-degree angled tip, flat tip for stuff like this. It just works better. And I actually might try to get up some of that solder with a solder sucker. Hello, whoever just joined. Been live streaming repairing a TC109 tube checker. Actually, all I'm really doing on this TC109 is we just got done replacing the electrolytic, and I restuffed it, the new electrolytic into the old kind of paper shell that was around it. Here goes the old one. And we're now replacing the older paper film capacitor that was in here with an orange drop, this guy right here. But anyways, thanks for joining in. This live stream is all because of you. All of y'all who've been subbed and got me over 1K, so this is my way of saying thank you. If you got questions or anything, no matter what that question is, if you want to chat, ask away. This is, an Ask Me Anything kind of Q&A while I do a repair. Put your questions down in the little comment section. They should, the live chat, I guess, and they should populate, and I should be able to see them. And I'd be more than happy to talk with you. Right now, I just got them swapping out the tip to my soldering iron. I'm letting it warm up, and we're going to try to remove the legs that we had. I still got part of the leg over this rotary switch right here. Left on some terminal posts. We're going to get rid of those and put in that orange drop capacitor. Typically find that I use solder wicks on this as well, but I've discovered that using the solder sucker on these little posts tend to work a lot better. There's my hemostat set. There they go. All right, should be able to pull this guy out now. Let's see how it goes. Almost got it. There we go. Sometimes you just gotta get the right angle on it to get these guys to twist out of wherever they're terminated. So that's 1 ounce, and we'll turn this around. The other one is over on this side. It is actually on its own post, so that should be fairly easy to get through. Although somewhat impractical with the soldering iron. I'm gonna need a different angle. I'm not just blocking this entire thing with my hat. Actually, instead of taking the soldering iron to that one, because that terminal post is fairly open, there's no other wires on it. I'm just going to trim that one off. Save myself a tad bit of time with it. And there it goes. All right, outside pole was on this side, and then the other lead went over on that side. Probably best if I put some heat shrink tubing around this. I think I got some. I hate for the legs to short out over anything or short across anything. Put a couple tubes, small little tubular heat shrink on it, and we can form the legs and get them to where they need to be. That one fell off. Doing my hemostats. There you go. All right. That one fed through. We'll feed this one through and wrap it around, and then we'll solder it down. And I can trim it right afterwards. All my kids always have questions. I generally try to keep them away from when I'm working on things, um, because there's just too much inherent danger. Hot devices like a soldering iron, general hazards with electronics to begin with. They can come to the door and they can ask me questions at any time. I'm never going to tell my kids they can't come and ask me a question, but I'm not going to let them around my workspace. And that's one of the reasons why I haven't live streamed in the past, um, because I have a household of 4 kids. They get loud. Let me tell you. All right, so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find the where I fed this leg through its post, trying to grab the bottom of it and then swing it around so I can kind of make a J shape. Now I can come in and solder that guy in. Somehow, not a whole lot of room. There's quite a few other components that are in the way. Move this carbon resistor out of the way. And get this wire slightly moved out of the way. There we go. All right. Should be able, I think I got a good angle in here now. There we go. And done. Again, dwell time. Not spending a lot of time on this. I don't want to overheat these. I don't want to overheat the legs to these capacitors. Don't want to overheat the capacitors. As minimum time as possible. All right, there we have it. We've got both the capacitors replaced in here. I might come and get these leads put a little bit further down at some point, but that's the first part of needing to get this Sencore Sencore TC109, electrically safe again. And yeah, there you go. But appreciate everybody who's joined in over the last hour and been on this live stream with me. And again, thank you for everybody who's joined my channel. Like, truly thank you for getting me up to 1K and subscribers. A huge milestone for myself. I think I've had this channel right about 3 years, maybe 2.5, somewhere between 2 and 3 years now. But thank you so much. Thank you for commenting, for watching, for all that stuff, and joining me along the ride with a lot of the repairs and vintage restorations and everything else that we do on this channel. In closing out this video, I just want to share that appreciation for each one of you. If you have, and then, you know, the typical sales pitch, if you're new to the channel and you haven't watched any of my content before, please consider subscribing. You know, I'm not too ashamed to ask that. It helps these smaller channels such as myself grow. Subscribing, commenting, thumbs up, all that does affect the algorithm. I do teach over on Patreon electronics principles and electrical engineering fundamentals, as well as test equipment and stuff. That link is in the description. That's a way if you want to give to my channel but get something in return. Patreon is the way to go, because I don't release those videos on public YouTube, or at least I haven't yet. But regardless of any of that sell pitch, truly thank you for helping to get me to this milestone. I really honestly mean it. Appreciate every single one of you. Make sure you call your mothers this weekend. Make sure you tell them Happy Mother's Day. I know I'll be spending some time with my wife tomorrow afternoon. Hopefully the kids and I can come up with something special for her. But that being said, take care and goodbye.
Mark?